you should have a job here with us.
Well, I think all their jobs are volunteer.
Yeah, we'll double your pay. I think this is it. This is us. We are the Old Soldier Fiddlers. Our group is part of the American Civil War Shooting Association. And the ACWSA is a group of Civil War enthusiasts who do this. We have marksmanship competitions using period firearms. See the targets dropping and cracking and breaking. Now this is our team competition. We do this with muskets and carbines, revolvers, smooth bore muskets, breech loaders, and even cannons, mortars, and battery guns. We have a table right downstairs in the commons room there. So stop in on the table if you're interested in finding out what we're all about. That's my cannon. Okay, next slide, please. Yep, this is it. The Old Soldiers Fiddlers was a real group. It was created after the Civil War by a guy named John A. Petit. John Petit was born in 1844 in Huron, Michigan, and he was 16 when he enlisted in the 24th Michigan Volunteer Infantry Regiment, which became part of the Iron Brigade that units from Wisconsin was mixed with. He was one of those people who went from his infantry unit and helped Battery B of the 4th U.S. Artillery. He actually served 18 months with Battery B before coming back to his infantry unit. After he returned to his infantry unit, he rose to the rank of corporal, and he finished out his enlistment at Camp Butler in Illinois, near Springfield, Illinois, with Lincoln's funeral procession. After that, he mustered out and became a civilian again. In 1899, he went to the Gettysburg Remembrance to Michigan Day at the Gettysburg Battlefield, and something there inspired him. Sometime before 1904, he promoted himself to honorary colonel, and he created this group called the Old Soldiers Fiddlers. They were a novelty act whose fiddlers were made up of both Union and Confederate veterans. They performed from coast to coast in the U.S., and they even went up to Canada for performances. They played in GAR halls, vaudeville stages, and even at the 50th Gettysburg Reunion. They billed themselves as vaudeville's greatest novelty act. Part of their shtick was that not one of them could read music. They insisted that they be called fiddlers and never violinists. Their playlists included antebellum and camp tunes, mixed with jokes and banter. Their banter would start out innocent enough, but it would gradually grow more and more caustic in between the Union, the Yankees, and the rebels, until at the very end of the act, Colonel Petit would stand up and break in and admonish the group, bringing it back together by pointing out that the terrible war was now over and that we were all once again brothers under one nation. After the group disbanded, this John Petit continued on playing as an individual. He played barn dance and radio tunes on a radio station, WEAF in New York, and he played almost to his death, which was in December of 1924. This is a sing-along, so you guys are the performers, and we're your accompaniment. There's none of us here that are professional musicians, so please join along with us in making some Civil War noise. We're going to start out with an old favorite, the Battle Cry Freedom. Before we get too long, I'd like to introduce the band. On my right, your left, we have our token Norwegian. This is David Listad. He's our ace shooter in our group. This is my daughter on vocals, Amy Van Kallenberg. Behind me is my son, the guitarist, Jack Van Kallenberg. My wife, Darlene. And I'm Gary Van Kallenberg.
Oh, whole family up there.
Thank you.
And you do sound good, I gotta say. Wow.
Hey, so what is Civil War music? Well, it's not just the military marches and the patriotic airs that you hear on television during a movie. It's also the protest songs and the civilian music. It could really be anything that was written before 1865, which was the end of the war. It ranges from classical to classless, from religious to sacrilegious, from highbrow to lowbrow, includes dances and dirges. And it's both American and imported. Next slide, please. When I was researching this, I just found this interesting as heck. I pulled out the 1860 census, and in 1860, the population of Wisconsin was under 776,000 people. Now, the state map on the left shows how those people were distributed throughout the states with the dots. That's about 13% of what it is today. Or if you look at that Milwaukee, Racine, Waukesha metropolitan area, it's less than half of what's there right now. But here's another interesting fact. Only about a third of those people were actually born in the state. A full another third of them were born in America, but in a different state. They traveled here. But that last third was born in a totally different country. And, you know, that's where they brought their music from. When they came into the Civil War soldiers, they brought their music with them, and that's where it came from. Immigrants tended to stick together, and we have many Wisconsin regiments with ethnic backgrounds. What we're going to do today is highlight some of those units and pay homage to them with some of the songs they would have enjoyed. Next slide, please. By far the largest ethnic group in Wisconsin were the Germans. And there were 5 to 9 German regiments, depending on how you count them, from our state. We chose the 26th Wisconsin Infantry Regiment to exemplify them. The 26th was recruited mainly from Milwaukee, and they were known as the Siegel Regiment. They trained at Camp Siegel, which was located near Milwaukee. They chose Franz Siegel as their patron saint. They had a General Franz Siegel for a commanding officer. Now, they were initially sent to the Eastern Theater, but when Sherman started his march to the sea, they sent them west, and they fought their way back east, where they fought some more. Even their recruiting poster here was in German. I don't know whether you can see that or how good your German is, but it talks about how much they're going to pay for bounties. And the one line in there that I like is, Jeder Deutsche sollte diese Regimenter anschließen, which means every German should join this regiment. Oh, yeah. So, we're going to sing a song called I Go to Fight mit Siegel. Okay, we're going to do 2 verses, and it's kind of in what we used to call Max Nix German when I was stationed over in Germany. So it's to the tune of The Girl I Left Behind Me. And I'm going to sing on this one too with you. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've come just now to tell you how I go with regimento to shock them for the liberty. Like that old continental that fights in England long ago. Say their Yankee eagle, but now I did not Rattling Northern Eagle, I won't get none on her when I go through like this eagle. Thank you. I started playing the violin so I wouldn't have to sing.
Or dance.
Or dance. Okay, the second largest ethnic group of immigrants in Wisconsin were the Irish, and Company B of the 17th Wisconsin exemplified them. They were mustered at Camp Randall in early 1862, and they fought in the Western Theater. Brigade Commander General MacArthur, that's General MacArthur's father, said to them at the Battle of Corinth, "Boys of the 17th, you have made the most glorious charge of your campaign." After Corinth, they also fought at Grant's Central Mississippi Campaign, the Battle of Fort Gibson, the Battle of Champions Hills. They were at the Siege of Vicksburg, and the Atlanta Campaign, the Carolinas Campaign, and the Battle of Bentonville. Lance Hurtigan's latest book is rich in information about the songs that the Air Brigade listened to. And when he writes about the Irish, one title popping up over and over again. That's Rory Moore. The third largest ethnic group in Wisconsin was the British, but since we've got a couple English songs that we're going to perform later, we're going to kind of skip them and go right on to the fourth largest group, which were the Norwegians.
Hello, Norwegians.
The Norwegians were represented by the 15th Wisconsin Infantry Regiment. They were known as the Scandinavian Regiment. About 13%, or 128 soldiers, had the first name of Ole. In Company F alone, there were 5 soldiers named Oleos. So, pretty common name. Their commander was a Wisconsin politician by the name of Hans Haig, who was born in Leervien, Norway. Hans would become Wisconsin's highest ranking casualty when he was killed at the Battle of Chickamauga. A statue of him still stands at the northeast corner of our Capitol building in Madison. When the regiment passed through Chicago on their way east, in March of 1862, a young organization called the Society Nora presented them with the flag on the top right here. The inscriptions read, "Tribute O Vortland," which translated means "for God in our country." After the war, that flag was returned to the Nora Lodge, and it's now on display at the Norwegian American Museum in Decorah, Iowa. In fact, the Nora Lodge still exists today as part of the Sons of Norway, and it's recognized as the oldest Norwegian lodge in America. What we're going to do for you now is play a Norwegian waltz called the Starting Waltz. Okay, this next one we're calling the Battle of the Bands at Petersburg. The Richmond-Petersburg campaign, it happened late in the war, began in early of June 1864, and it lasted 10 months. It started with a series of battles, and it ended with a 9-month-long siege of Petersburg, Virginia. During that campaign, soldiers on both sides dug over 30 miles of trenches, mostly around the eastern and southern outskirts of Petersburg. Okay, if you look at the pictures of Petersburg when they dug their trenches in, it reminds you more of World War I, which happened 50 years later than what happened at Gettysburg just the year before. One of the most notable attempts to breach the Petersburg defenses was called the Crater. So miners from the Pennsylvania regiment dug a 500-foot shaft beneath the Confederate trenches, and they packed the end of it with 8,000 pounds of black powder. On the morning of Saturday, July 30th, they detonated that charge and blew that hole, which you'll see in the video there, in the Confederate line.
Wow.
The Union attack that followed the blast failed. This Battle of the Bands that we're about to recreate happened on the evening of the very next day following that blast. The Iron Brigade was assigned to the 5th Corps at the time. Show them the 5th Corps position there, and where's the blast? Craters, the 5th Corps with the craters. Yeah. There's the crater up around here somewhere, and the 5th Corps. So they were right there. Okay, this tale comes to us through Jerome Watrous of the 6th Wisconsin Regiment. Lance Hurtigan recounts Watrous' tale in his latest book.
It was an event the Sunday following the explosion, however, that touched on the strange war between people who shared so many things: language, history, culture, but were so far apart on others. With enemies still across from each other in their earthworks, a truce was called from noon until dark, so parties from both sides could bury the dead. About 6 p.m., the watching Federal soldiers were surprised by a remarkable sight. For more than a mile along the Confederate front stood men, women, and children on the enemy's breastworks. Not soldiers, but men in citizens' clothes, their wives, their children. The two sides stood quietly looking across the field over the heads of the burial parties working on the field. Somewhere in the enemy lines, a Confederate band began to play Dixie, and as the bright blast of music caused the enemy soldiers and civilians to raise a cheer and wave handkerchiefs. As the last notes died, the Union bands responded with the Star-Spangled Banner, and so it went for many minutes, with the Confederates coming back with Bonnie Blue Flag, and the Federals answering with Yankee Doodle. Just as the shades of night were appearing, the witness said, the Federal bands, as many as 24, began to play Home Sweet Home. No cheer followed. Within a few minutes from the time the band ceased to play, the watcher said, the Confederate bands, a great number of them, took up the same beautiful, impressive strains, played Home Sweet Home as our folks had played it, and then there was a mighty cheer along both sides of battle. After a time, the citizens went back to Petersburg, and our forces settled down to their old modes of living. The next day, the cannon began to roar, the mortars to feed their shells and shot back and forth, and the sharpshooters to pick off the enemy.
Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to recreate this Battle of the Bands that actually happened between the Union and the Confederate side at Petersburg. We're going to go from singing Dixie to the Star-Spangled Banner and onto the Bonnie Blue Flag, Yankee Doodle, and then Home Sweet Home.
You guys ready for that? For those who came in late, this is a sing-along. Join in.
Oh.
Take a breath, folks. Here we go.
Some were singing. Some people knew the words.
Let's go on. Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh
the day after the blast at Petersburg. Just a couple notes about the songs we've just been singing. Dan Emmett actually composed Dixie in 1859 in New York City.
New York City?
Yeah, New York City. And when he heard the Confederates using it as a rallying song, he was quoted as saying, if I had known what use they were going to put my song, I will be damned if I had written it. Okay, got to put a quarter in the jar. The Star Spangled Banner was not the official anthem of the United States during the Civil War. That would be adopted as our national anthem until 1931. The words were written by Francis Scott Key in 1812 after he watched the British bombard Fort McHenry, but the tune was from a British song of the 1700s. Yankee Doodle is also another British song. It came from during the French and Indian Wars. British military officers sang it to mock the colonial Yankees they left. They thought they were frumpy and disorganized. So it's kind of a scoffing melody that they sang. The tune actually comes from a nursery rhyme called Lucy's Locket. The Bonnie Blue Flag was the only song that was actually written around the Civil War time. It was written by a guy named Harry McCarthy, who premiered it in the spring of 1861 during a concert in Jackson, Mississippi. It's sung to an old Irish tune named Irish Jaunting Car. Harry billed himself as the Arkansas comedian, and he performed widely throughout the South during the war, along with his wife and a cockatoo that he had trained to squawk, 3 cheers for Jefferson Davis. Home Sweet Home was actually written in 1823 by John Howard Payne and Sir Henry Rowley Bishop. It was for an opera called Clary, or also known as The Maid of Milan. Ironically, one of them was homeless, the other one had a reputation as a home wrecker. Payne, who wrote the lyrics later in life, spent time in a debtor's prison, and he always lamented that he never really had a home. Bishop was well-known English conductor who was quote, a noted reprobate and home wrecker and a spendthrift, and he also died in poverty. So that's what we just sang, folks.
Beautiful song, though.
Okay, Camp Chase. It's the name of a place, and it's also the name of a fiddle tune. Camp Chase, the place, is like our own Camp Randall with Madison, only larger. It was a state-run camp on the west side of Columbus, Ohio, that was used to muster and train militia troops. Later, like our own Camp Randall, part of it was used to confine the prisoners of war. Camp Chase maintained separate prisons for officers, enlisted men, and civilians on the ground. The part of it that's the prison is actually right here. See this little block? That's the prison. The rest of it is all for Union troops and the drill field and the headquarters and stuff. Initially, the treatment of the prisoners was extremely lenient. The prisoners were allowed to keep their money. Settlers were allowed in. Officers who took an oath of honor could actually leave the camp and roam the city. They were allowed to keep their servants, slaves. And in one case, one of the officers was even accompanied by his wife. The camp became a tourist attraction. They actually sold tickets and conducted tours of the place. After some complaints and an investigation, stricter discipline was imposed. Up to the end of patrolling, the camp was really a transit facility. But as the end of the war went on and patrolling ended, The number of prisoners increased and the conditions grew more harsh. Crowding, drainage, sewage, both the quality and the quantity of food, and leaking and poorly ventilated shelters with heating problems were constant complaints. The original facility was built to hold 4,000 prisoners, but when it was jammed with 7,000, they expanded it to hold 7,000, but then at the very end of the war, the population swelled to almost 10,000 people. There's not much left of Camp Chase today, except the Confederate cemetery with over 2,000 graves. Now, Camp Chase, the Fiddle Tune. Camp Chase, the Fiddle Tune got its name from the place. The story goes that the Commandant, the guy on the horse here, General Ralph Buckland, was a big music buff, and just for grins and giggles, he had a fiddle contest. And this is in the early war when things were kind of loosey-goosey. His first place in this fiddle contest, General Buckland offered a parole to the winner. Now there were a lot of rebel fiddlers there. One guy was named Bowie, and there's another guy named Solomon Carpenter. And Solomon Carpenter had a nickname of Devil Saul. All the fiddle players played the same tune, and fiddle tunes can change over time. They often go by more than one name. When these guys played this tune at Camp Chase, it was probably an old-time breakdown that went by the name of George Booker, which is very similar to an 18th century Scottish Strathspey named the Marquis of Hunting's Farewell. But whatever the tune was known to up till then, ever since it's been known at Camp Chase in the United States. Devil Saul won that contest and his freedom by adding some unusual notes to the tune. Now, the parole that Devil Saul would have got would have included a pledge not to take up arms against the Union. But the rest of the story goes is that Devil Saul just ignored that, went home, and joined another rebel unit and fought again. So, this is the fiddle tune, no singing involved here. It's a bit of a stretch for me. This is how Okay, the rest of them are singing to you guys.
Oh, no.
Take a deep breath. Okay, no one was more hated or heavily relied on than the Union bugler. The troops hated them because they woke them up so early from their dreams every morning, and they told them when they had to go to bed at night. But command and staff relied upon them heavily, putting their troops into motion and sending out their commands. In the wintertime, one of the favorite tricks that the soldiers would play on the bugler was to put water in the bugle at night, put it somewhere where it would freeze. And the next morning, the bugler couldn't blow reveille until he thawed the thing out, so the guy got a little extra sack. Okay, so this is the uppity song.
Guys, what's the difference between an onion and a fiddle?
No one cries when you chop up a fiddle.
Well, what's the difference between a fiddler and a trampoline?
You take the boots off when you jump on a trampoline.
You should like them.
So what's the difference in between a fiddle and a violin?
No one minds if you spear beer on a fiddle.
Why are bagpipes better than fiddles?
Bagpipes burn longer.
Okay, how is a fiddle like a cannon round?
By the time you hear it, it's too late.
What's the difference between a violin and a fiddle?
Oh, I know this one. A fiddle is fun to listen to. What's the difference between a fiddle player and a dowel?
The doll knows when to stop scratching.
How can you tell if a violin is out of tune?
Always moving.
How do you know if a fiddler is in jail?
He's behind a few bars and can't find the key. What's the definition of perfect pitch?
Throwing a fiddle into a latrine without hitting the seat.
Why are a fiddler's fingers, fiddle player's fingers, like lightning?
They never hit the same place twice.
How do you know if the stage you're playing on is level?
The Confederate was drooling out of both sides of his mouth.
What? I kept it out. Okay, now we're going to tune to a tune called All Quiet along with the Potomac Night. Okay.
What's the difference between a Yankee and a Southern Belle?
A Yankee gal says, yes, I'll get you. But a Southern Belle says, I'll kiss y'all.
Hey! Talking about
That was mean.
Okay. A guide was given a tour of a famous Civil War battle site. Here he points out at one spot, this is where the Southern troops routed a whole regiment of Yankees. Over there, the rebels wiped out a whole platoon of Yankees. Down the road about a mile, there's another valley where we captured 1,000 or so Union soldiers. Tours they asked him, didn't the North ever win a battle? He said, yes, ma'am, yes, they did. But not while I'm giving the tour. Okay. Down to the marching home. Good job. Okay. You know, it's a well-known fact that one rebel can whip 10 Yankees with a corn stalk.
And how come they didn't win the war?
Oh, we just couldn't get them dang Yankees to fight with corn stalks.
Did you hear about the Confederate who died drinking milk?
No, how'd that happen?
The cow fell on him.
Oh, man. Okay, let's sing a little.
Please,
telling you Yankees, you kill one of them and 6 more pop up.
Last punchline.
Line?
Gentlemen.
If a Southerner divorces his wife, is she still his cousin?
Gentlemen, enough! All of us fought in the war for what we believed in, and we paid a terrible price. But it's all over now, and once again, we're all Americans, just as our founding fathers meant us to be. One nation, under God, and now with liberty and justice for all of us. Now let's rise together and play one last tune, the Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Thank you for coming to the Old Soldiers Fiddlers performance. The Old Soldiers Fiddlers are the unofficial warm-up band for the great Lance Gerdigan. About to come up next. We're part of the ACWSA, the American Civil War Shooting Association. We've got a table downstairs with brochures and videos and all kinds of guides that are looking to bend your ear. So stop by and see us while you're down there. And we're going to clear out while Lance gets ready.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.